Today we're playing some 25NL here on Coinpoker. We're on two tables, although the second one will probably take a couple of minutes until I will play my big blinds. And on this one on the left I have 9-3 offsuit, obviously starting with a fold after there is a raise and a 3-bet. So, yeah, we have been doing a bit of live streaming of late. Today we are just going to play some, well, still same thing as on a live stream, but I'm just recording this because when you guys will be watching this, I will be away working as an interpreter at Europe's biggest sports business conference. So that's why no stream this week, at least no live stream, but this is as good as a stream, I would guess. Right, so I folded 10-6 obviously after a raise in early position and a button call. Actually, no, sorry, the button 3-bet and the early position player called. Yep, so this button is already interesting. So we've witnessed two hands and both times they 3-bet. Now, they might have had kings followed by aces, or they might be a bit on the looser and especially on the more aggressive side. So let's see what they do this time. We have king 10 and I am going to 3-bet them now with my king 10. As I said, they are quite aggressive. That means they could 4-bet. If they do, I will fold this time. Yeah, they do that. So I think they are probably messing around, but king 10 off is just not good enough yet. But that is good to know that they will do that. And by that I mean 4-betting, so they have been extremely aggressive so far. But that's okay. So yes, the king 10 off is a bit of a waste there, but it's a hand that doesn't play super well as a call. Even though I'm probably ahead, no, I'm definitely ahead of their range. I mean, they seem to be playing 100% of hands here. Well, just when I said it, they folded for the first time. Well, my sample size just wasn't good enough to jam king 10 off over their 4-bet, although I think it probably wouldn't even have been that bad. I'm thinking about it now, but hey, whatever. We can hopefully catch them a bit later. So another open from them here. And soon we should get going on the table on the right as well. But this is actually quite interesting to see how this is developing. So they now got 3-bet by the big blind. And this time it's only a call. That's interesting. Big blind checks. Which I think, even if you have a good hand, that's a good strategy, because most likely Mr. or Mrs. Aggro will bet, and sure enough they bet, quite small, but it was a bet. Big blind called. Might be that the big blind only like really has something like queens or tens there. And turn goes check check. Oh, and look at this, we start with a walk on this table. That's nice. Okay, so another check by the big blind. And now we got the overbet by, let's call the Mr. Aggro. And interesting to see now. I imagine that the big blind doesn't have anything. I think even a queen, queens, because He tanked for a long time and then folded. I think that is not really indicative of a strong hand. And of course, he's involved once again. Six three off is a fold. But this is much more interesting here to just watch this hyper aggressive player anyway. And it pocket fives against pocket kings. Look at this. Pocket kings played it quite conservatively there. I would have expected them to try to get a bit more money into the pot. I understand that you want to slow play against him, although he hasn't actually been too crazy post-flop. It's been more crazy pre-flop. But even then, I mean, this guy was in late position, so yeah, I would have expected a bit more action. Here I am going to 4-bet this hand. Ace 10 off, not an amazing hand, obviously, if we get called, but we do block the ace, and it was cutoff versus button, and we do get it through, so that is nice. Here I have a fold with my 10-5 off. Yes, also still getting used at playing these regular tables rather than Zoom. I quite enjoy it because, as I said, like for example here, Mr. Aggro, we can just really observe them and hone in on a strategy against them, which in Zoom you can never do. There you just go from one hand to the next, which is good. It has its advantages, but this is actually something I prefer. Also, having an ante is interesting because you get to defend a bit bigger, a bit wider, mostly. Okay, and here we raised a 6 suited in the low jack, got cold called by the hijack, and now it's on the small blind. Okay, and the flop, we do flop bottom pair, but I will check pretty much my entire range in this spot. Definitely gonna call here. Yeah, he bet small. This could be a stab with all sorts of things. I think it's likely that he has a pocket pair and that we are beat. However, we did have bottom pair, we had an overcard, and we had a backdoor flush draw. So now that he checks once again, I think this will be another check. We can't really extract much value, and we win it. So he just took a small stab there on the flop, either with an underpair to the board or just with no pair at all, and then he gave up, and this helped us. Right, what happened to Mr. Aggro? He's been a bit quieter over the last 2 or 3 hands. Let's see if he finds his strength back. No, he folded again. Interesting. Maybe he's realized he has to be a bit more cautious. Okay, so here's a raise and a 3-bet, so we can definitely get out of the way with our 10-9 off. on the left, we see bet and fold. That's a pretty easy one. Okay, king 8 off, not a hand I can play in the hijack. Pocket queens will be a hand I will most likely be able to play though. You're on the right table in the small blind. Button, we have a player who doesn't start the hand with a full stack. He raises. So I am definitely going to 3-bet my pocket queens, obviously. Let's see what he does. He folds. Okay. I can live with that, even though I would have preferred to see a call. But then again, queens are actually not that amazing post-flop. It's a really good pre-flop hand. But once the flop comes, especially if there's an ace or a king, there's not that much equity to be had. So it's definitely not bad to just take it down pre-flop. And with ace king even more so, because that is just ace high after all. And if you don't hit, then after the flop, you can still win, obviously. But the thing with ace king is that you would have to make so much more after the flop to just get the same money or big blinds that you could just get pre-flop. So with ace king, you almost always want folds, even though it is such a nice hand. But well, first we'd have to have that. Right, Jack 10 is a hand that I will open now, even though Jack 10 off, but we are in the cutoff, so that is quite good. Queen 9 suited, just a tad too weak to open in a 7-handed game from under the gun. And the Jack 10 wins. Okay, 10-9. Well, this is another one of those interesting ones. I am going to raise this one quite big because we have this really weird one big blind poster in the small blind, but it's not really the small blind because the small blind is in this position, the second one, and then we have this guy who is actually the big blind. So we managed to take this one down. So we won 2.5 plus whatever the ante was. Okay, here I'm just gonna call with pocket jacks. That's a pretty good flop for us, I would say. Can't complain. I don't know how aggressive this player is now. I'm definitely gonna check to him, but I am going to slow play this, to fast play this one. Sorry. I do think that yes, he might just fold. Okay, this is not a great card, but it might be. I mean, if he does have a flush, this is great, but I am going to bet small now. He does call, and I don't love this, although he could still have the ace of clubs here. Oh, losing to pocket sevens, obviously. Shall I jam this one? 80 big blinds for 40. I can do this. I want the maximum, unfortunately, snap fold, but I think, okay, here I am going to call with 4 deuce off, because this guy is a rather passive player. Okay, now that I said it, he just raised me, but that's fine. We've had this before. I'll just do the same with a good hand. Yeah, so the run out really wasn't great with my jacks there, with a 4 to a flush there. I mean, even if he had a hand like kings or so without the club, then he'll fold there. And yes, I could have gotten a little bit out of him on the river if I had bet small. Maybe that would have been a better thing though, just thinking about it, because if he had the ace of clubs, or even king of clubs, if I bet small there on the river, he would probably raise me. And if he has the smaller boat, he'll definitely raise as well. So actually I would probably have maximized by just betting small against the best portion of his range, and I would have made a little bit of money against some bluff catchers who just couldn't fold um, for a third pot or quarter pot or so. So maybe that would have been the better option than trying to jam. I didn't quite think that through very well in the spot, but also I'm being a bit results oriented now, obviously. Right, back to concentrating on what's going on here. Our friend to our left here on the left table is involved in a pot once again. Jack 6, definitely not going to play. Ace deuce off in the cutoff, even with an ante. That's not a hand I want to open. But ace jack is a hand I want to open. So let's see if we get 3-bet by the big blind. No, we don't. That's fine. Small blind calls, and this will be a range bet. Small range bet, I think, is fine. There are already a lot of hands that he can fold out, and if he has a hand like Queen 10, 9 8, 6 5, although 6 5 might even call, but the others, there are quite a few that he might just fold out. Even a hand like Ace 9 of hearts or so, if he folds that out, it's fine for me. But definitely if he has two cards that are live, that would be good. Okay, he does call. So now we pick up some more equity there. So now is the time to either go big or check. So I am going to overbet this one. Going 12 big blinds into 9. Because I think he still has a lot of hands like 8s, 9s, 6s, 5s that he would have called with there. Maybe some flush draws, and against this big bet he is incentivized to fold a lot of those, and we do get it through. Yeah, so the turn play is quite interesting. It's rare that you, after you c-bet the flop, it's rare that you go small on the turn. It's very often overbet or fold, or at least bet big. Only sometimes when there is a really good card for you where you can go small, like if a king comes, for example, after 3 low cards, you c-bet the flop and then the king comes. That's a spot where you can go a bit smaller, at least in GTO. Exploitatively, I would then consider my options. So now we have king, 6 offsuit in the small blind. It's a hand that would normally fold if folded to me, but here I would open it. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do because there is an ante, so we can open slightly wider. It's still not super profitable, but it probably is just like the tiniest bit profitable. So I'm happy to open it then. Okay, ace 4 off. Can't do much after this guy raised. Queen 4 suited in the cutoff. Now, I mean, yeah, had I known that these two guys would fold, I would definitely have opened it. But with 3 players to act behind me, Queen 4 suited just isn't a great hand. Seven deuce off under the gun. That's a really easy decision. King deuce, that's very similar to the queen 4 we had earlier in the cutoff. It's just a tiny bit too loose to open. Okay, 10-4 suited against a 3x raise from recreational player will be a no. Yeah, that's a bit of a disadvantage, obviously, here. If I play regular tables, that sometimes we just have to wait forever for someone to act, and then they just fold. But, as I said, I do think that... So, like, one of the most important things in poker is to exploit other players. And in Zoom games, you can't exploit much. What you can do there is you can train your GTO and you can do pool exploits. But I think it's much more useful to do player-based exploits, and we can do that better here, I think, even though we do not have a heads-up display. Although I have heard that apparently it is possible to use a heads-up display on Coinpoker. They've just allowed it not long ago, like a few weeks ago, but there is still some tweak to it. You have to do something with your poker tracker or Hold'em manager to be able to use it, because otherwise, if you just were to use it normally, it would violate some terms and conditions. So I'll have to look that up, what I can do there. But I actually quite like it not to have a heads-up display, but then again, I don't want other players to have it. So I will, if I can't have it, so that's why I will look into that. But in the meantime, we have pocket aces, and we open them under the gun. And let's see now, hopefully this guy is gonna 3-bet us now. A big blind. But usually all we do is just get the blinds when we have pocket aces. I think the last 5 or 6 times this is what happened. And looks like, yep, this is what's happening again. It's just, I can't, like, I just can't get my head around it. Yes, I know that if I have two aces in my hand, it makes it so much less likely that they have a really strong hand. But they can still have kings and queens and jacks and tens and nines and king queen and king jack and queen jack and like still quite a few of ace king, ace queen, ace jack, ace ten, all sort of suited ace x hands. Like, how do they almost never have any of those hands combined? Six players combined, they do not have a single hand that they could call or raise with when I have aces. I just don't get it. But well, that's it. At least we're doing all right here on both tables. Okay, pocket fives on the button. Okay, so this guy to my right here has calmed down a lot. So maybe he just did have a lot of good hands when he raised and 3-bet and 4-bet every hand for like 5 or 6 hands in a row. It's not impossible. I just thought it was unlikely, but yeah, it's fine. Okay, early position raise, so I have to fold. My queen 10 off. So you know the drill with Coinpoker. You get 150% bonus when you sign up to $2,000. And then on top of that, you get 33% rake back, which I think is really unheard of. It's the best offer in the industry, I believe. And I really like this. And yes, I am a partner. I am what they call a Coinpoker friend. And yes, if you sign up through the link in the description below, I will earn a commission. So I will disclose all of that, obviously. But I still think, even if I didn't have that, I think that this is really the platform to play. As long as you know how to deal with cryptocurrencies, as I was a crypto virgin, I can say, before. So that's what took me a while to sign up here. But otherwise, I think this platform is great. I can definitely recommend it, and I'm not saying that only because I'm getting paid to say this, but because I truly believe that it is a great up and coming platform, and I do think this will become much bigger. There will be a lot more action. They're working hard. They have a lot of big, good players, famous players as ambassadors. Right here, we are gonna start with a small c-bet and position. There's definitely a chance that he folds, but he doesn't. Okay, we now pick up a flush, an open ender, I mean, and we are going to bet this one again. This time an overbet. The queen is slightly better for me than it is for him, because there isn't a lot of queen x hand that he should call. So I say slightly, actually it's a lot better for me because I have quite a few queen x hands, whereas he, like, if he has a queen in his hand there, then it's basically queen jack pretty much for top two pair. But I had hands like queen 10, queen 9 suited, ace queen, king queen, all sorts of stuff. Right, here we have middle pair, and whilst I could use some protection, I am going to take the passive route simply because I'm facing an aggro opponent, and if I leave all his bluffs in there, I can bluff catch, and I can't go for many streets of value anyway with just such a pair. And now can I get anything out of him? I don't think I can. This has to be, I can't go, it's way too thin to value bet fourth pair. And well, we allowed him to get there in the end with his king 10, but that's fine, that's okay. Against an aggressive player, I prefer to let him bluff. Though, as I said, looks like he doesn't play that aggressively anymore as he did when we first started. So I will probably have to recalibrate. Now that I know that, I would have just c-bet the flop and then he might have folded. Okay, here on the right it's interesting. We're getting min raised by this guy, and now we're getting 4-bet. Yeah, this is not great. So I do think that the min raise probably isn't too strong here, but calling over 13 big blinds is not great. I don't want to do that now, and then this guy might still, there is a chance that he comes over the top, and then I have to fold my pocket eights. So it's annoying, but if you open under the gun, then get 3-bet by the player next to act, and then if you get 4-bet by the guy who is next to act after him, then pocket eights are probably not in the best shape. So let's see. Yeah, this guy folded, as I said. A min click in online poker is very different to a min click in live poker, I have noticed. And in live poker, it often means that they have a really strong hand and they're trying to get tricky. But in live poker, it's usually a recreational player who is not very experienced, who has some sort of a hand that he wants to raise, and he'll just click on raise there without realizing that it's just a min click. Okay, so I am calling king 7 suited, and this is the guy who just min clicked me in the previous hand. He bets half pot now. I mean, could go either way, but I'm just gonna fold here, even with my backdoor flush draw. Obviously, king 3 off will just be a fold. Jack deuce off, can't do a lot about it either. But ace queen off could be one. So this guy raised under the gun. I think he's quite active, and now he 3-bet. Okay, normally I would say this is a fold. However, I am going to cold 4-bet with this hand, and the reason being is Calvis has opened quite a bit from any position. I don't think he's super strong. Now, he admittedly has calmed down of late, but I've seen him 3-bet quite a bit, so he doesn't have to be super strong. And so I think we do have a chance to just get it through. Okay, now we are going to go with a small c-bet. This shouldn't really hit his range a lot. Definitely doesn't connect with mine at all, but I do have aces, kings, and queens in my range. Possibly jacks as well. So now I am going to bet again if he checks to me. Oh, what's happening here? Reconnecting. Okay, we're back to normal apparently. What's happening here? Yeah, so he is tanking, although he might have similar connection problems. So if he checks to me, I will bet this one again, because I basically want to get ace-king to fold. And for that I don't think I have to go very big. Also, I don't know if he's even still there, because he's just tanking. Okay, so we're gonna go around, let's say, 23. He's got another minute to come back now, if he is not there. Yeah, so this would be nice if I had aces or kings here. I would do the same, and then if he calls, just jam the river. And with this bet, I'm getting him to fold ace-king. I'm getting to fold hands like possibly like ace-jack with a backdoor that he called the flop with. And I'm getting him to fold if he has something like pocket eights and potentially tens, although eights and tens actually doesn't make a big difference. Like neither of those beats my big value, and both of those beat my bluffs. But I think there is a chance that he'll fold some of those hands as well. And he did fold, but I think, yeah, he's just sitting out, so I can't really count this one as a big success for me, because he just wasn't there, so I could have bet one big blind and I would have taken it down. Right, but going alright so far, I would say. Even though, as I said, this hand just now was not really. Yeah, wasn't really. Ooh, look at this, nines against eights, set over set. Ouch. Yeah, so that hand there, the 4-bet pot wasn't really a fair win after he just lost his connection apparently. But anyway, on to the next one. We're in the big blind on both tables, and especially the 5-6 suited could be promising. Here we have a raise on the button, and because okay, it's the same player here actually, so we are gonna call here, and we are going to raise this one. So Jack 9 off is just about okay to call because of the antes. Now we have second pair, he bets small, nothing else to do than to call this one. And checking him again, let's see what he does. Here I'm going to call this again. Okay, he overbets, so this actually, I thought he was a weaker player, but I think now we are kind of indifferent to this huge size. But because he is on the button, I am going to call, and this is actually a good card for me. He checks and mucks. That is nice. Yeah, so this overbet on the turn, that's where you can usually see whether it's a reg or a wreck. And so now he told us that he is a more reggy type of player. And regs often overuse that as a bluff. I think they just overbluff in that spot, and I catch myself do it as well, so I know this firsthand. But the reason why they overuse it is because it works very well. But that's why when I have such a bluff catcher, I tend to call there, especially because they don't tend to go for the triple barrel as a bluff. So I can call there, and it's still kind of profitable. Okay, King Jack. If it folds to us, which it does, definitely opening it. What's going on here? What is this now? Why? I don't get it. I'm just gonna raise this. This is very weird. I don't understand. Like, why does everyone have 0.08 in there? Okay, that's the oh yeah, that's the ante. Fine, but then it was one, and he yeah, I don't get it. Anyway, we're getting 3-bet by this guy. Queen 10 off is a fold, so that's okay. Yeah, I think Calvis is a reg. Definitely. Ace-6 suited in the big blind. Jack-7 off in the cutoff. Okay, so now what I don't get is why Calvis is once again in the big blind. Like, I don't know, all of this doesn't make sense, but anyway. Right, we're up against Calvis again here on this table. Okay, he c-bets small, and I am going to... Now I'm going to call this one. Here I am going to bet this. Now I don't know if he remembers that it's me who played against him on the other table or not. Because if then he should not bet the turn very much. Here we're getting... Right, I am going to call this once with my gut shot. Here I'm gonna check because oh yeah, okay, he also had an ace high, but just a slightly better one than me. Fair enough. Okay, here now he keeps barreling. I'm gonna fold, although now I mean I didn't really concentrate because I was busy with this other table stupidly. But I will now fold. I just don't think he would follow it up with I don't know, he might, but it was already an optimistic call there on the flop. I shouldn't have done it. I just had a gut shot and backdoor flush draw, but against a player who doesn't, or a player who I don't know anything about, it probably wasn't the best idea to call there, to be fair. Okay, raise to 4 big blinds. That's an easy fold with 10-4 off, buddy. So raising queen 10 again when Calvis is on in the big blind. I'm gonna check this one now. Let's see what he does. He checks again, so now I can go for the overbet. With him checking twice, I don't think he has much. I could do this with an ace after he checked twice. I could have a 9, which could explain why I didn't bet the flop. But the main thing is that he just doesn't have much when he checks twice there. Here I am gonna make a very light 3-bet on the button with my ace-3 suited against Howie, who just check raised us earlier. Let's see. Obviously, if we're getting 4-bet, it's a fold. We're not. He calls. It's not the worst of flops. So we can definitely go for a range bet on this flop, although I know in GTO territory this is more like a big bet or check, but I like to do this. And now I can go a bit bigger, go with something like 15. And the queen, once again, he shouldn't have a lot of queen X hands unless it's queen of clubs, whereas I definitely have a lot. And now this is my green light for an all-in. He might snap me off or not, but the king is just such a good card for me, because if I had ace-king here all along, this is exactly what I would do. And excellent. And again, like, he basically never has a king there unless it's exactly the king of clubs somehow. But he might even have raised that earlier. So that was a great spot for me to go for the triple barrel bluff. Ace 9. Nice one to open. So yeah, what sort of range do I give him in that hand where I triple barreled it? Well, something like tens, jacks, nines maybe. So I think some pocket pair. He wouldn't call two barrels without a pocket pair, or maybe a flush draw is also possible. And I think he just basically folds almost all of that on the river when I overbet after three betting pre and then triple barreling with the overbet on the river. It takes a strong character to call down there with pocket tens and then looking stupid that you got owned. Okay, now this is the type of hand. Actually, no, I'm still gonna go for the check, for the call. I mean, sorry, for the limp in the small blind. And look at this. We are flopping top two pair. Okay, Howie once again against us. We are going to definitely three bet now. Right here, we are gonna just call this. Not a great one. We'll lose to Jack 9 now, which was one of the few hands that totally made sense with a two pair against, like, we never really filtered his range. Definitely calling again. And still losing the same hand. He checks and mucks. That is excellent. Here a raise 10-6 suited against hungry ATM. He called. I mean, I definitely over bluffing this one, but I think I have a chance and I only don't have to be good a lot. Gonna do this again now. Gonna go bigger. And when he calls again, I think he might still have quite a few hands. I can go for the triple barrel now. Something like 18. Because the ace is quite good for me, and oh, we do get looked up by... Oh, he did have the ace. Okay. Right. Yeah, that was unlucky there. That he had the flush draw that he called with, like ace high on the flop, fair enough. And then obviously I would never expect him to... Okay, I'm gonna check this one now. Just because I didn't think that I could get much value out of him. I have the worst ace. Okay, obviously now it doesn't matter, but I had the worst ace there. And he showed that he can bluff. So, come on. But he checks again. So now I am gonna go for a bigger bet. Like if he has a king there or a pocket pair, he would call. But no chance. Right, so my triple barrel there on the small blind versus big blind. The problem is that I do have a lot of bluffs in that spot. But then again, I think that the run out was quite good for me with the ace on the river, and me betting like three quarters there. If he has a jack or if he has a pocket pair below the jack, he will be hard pressed to call there when I triple barrel. And so that's why I did it. I thought I had a chance. Also, the flop and the turn bets were, I think, fine. So I don't mind that, even though I am aware that I have to be careful with the bluffs there, at least from a theoretical point of view, but I do think at 25 NL I can get away with it because they will just see the ace there often, and if they have like third pair and I triple barreled and there's the ace, a lot of players will then just fold to that triple barrel. Okay, ace king versus ace king, all in here. Still think we're doing all right. We've won, not quite a full buy-in because I lost a little before I got these. So here 53 and 42, that is 95, but I probably lost about 10 before and we had to reload. So yeah, still doing all right. Can't complain about this session so far. Would be nice to have some nice hands, some interesting spots. Maybe ace king could be the one. Let's see. First of all, Quantum 58 has to make up their mind. And we are going to raise this one, obviously. We are quite deep now, so we got 140 big blinds. This guy 160, 300. Those two have 100 each. But against them two, we would be the effective stack. Okay, so I am getting 3-bet by this guy. And the question is whether I want to 4-bet him. I think he has shown that he... let's go to 25. I don't think he will want to play for his stacks here with all sorts of hands. So, at this point, not the greatest flop on earth, but I'm still going to c-bet it. And we get called. So, at this point, I am going to continue barreling. Basically hoping to get him to fold ace-king. Yeah, that's probably what happened there. Okay, Jack 10 has to go into the muck. Here we can raise King Jack on the low jack. This guy calls us again, so we are best friends now. We seem to be playing a lot of pots together. This is quite good. I would normally bet here, but I don't mind checking range, but he bets half pot. That's an easy call then. So the thing is, like, if I'm out of position, I absolutely don't mind starting with a range bet anyway. Normally king high boards are kind of the only ones where you can go for some value there for a c-bet, but let me think, do I want to bet this one or let him bluff it? And I do think, well, it could go either way really. I'll just check it. And okay, we win. Yeah, I think it can go either way. I didn't think that he had a king, but then he bet half pot on the flop. He could still have done that with all sorts of mergy hands that he might call the river with. So that's why it can go either way. That's fine. Ace 8 against that early position raise. I am gonna fold. It's a close one, and I think it's probably pretty much 0 EV. Maybe with the ante, it might be the tiniest. Okay, although I'm thinking about a low jack raise in 6 max, but this is 7 max, so this is even earlier. So I think actually It might be break even at best to 3-bet ace-8 there. So I think it was the right decision to fold. Okay, cutoff raise to 3 big blinds, so that means queen 4 suited will hit the muck. Eight, 7 suited in the small blind. This when I first started playing poker, I would call with this hand all the time. There would be an early position raise. I would see such a pretty suited connector in the small blind, and I would just call it, not realizing that it was such a bad move, especially because I was playing live poker, and the raise wasn't like to 2.5 big blinds, the raise was to like 5 big blinds or so. But even for 2.5, it wouldn't be great to call, but certainly not in this case. Ten deuce suited on the button will unfortunately also have to be a fold. Yeah, so this player who's now in the small blind here on the right table, play with love. I love to play against him. Sadly, he is on my left, but that is still fine. Queen 9 against an early position raise, definitely a fold. Pocket sixes and king 9 suited. Both could be promising, but king 9 suited will have to be a fold after a raise to 3 big blinds in the cutoff. Okay, we do have a limper here. It's interesting. I am going to isolate this limper. Might be a tricky limp, I don't know. I haven't seen him limp yet. But I didn't want to limp behind there in the cutoff. Jack 10. Can definitely raise this hand on the button. And now I will start with a C bet, and here I am also going to go with a range bet. And we get folds on both tables. We wanted a fold on the right one. We didn't really necessarily want one on the left, but it's okay. Okay, I just realized my microphone was off for a bit. I hope it wasn't off for too long. So, pocket threes. So I was saying earlier with the ace-10 suited hand that I was in a small blind, there was an early position raise. I could have 3-bet there, of course, but I preferred not to because this guy is most likely a recreational player. And against recreational players, I like to keep them in the hand, and he was in the hand, but the flop wasn't exactly what I was hoping for. Here now, I'm gonna c-bet against him because I still think he can call me with some ace or king high, and I do think that, or some spade draw, and also, look at this now, he just goes pot, and now it's the time for me to get out. And here definitely folding as well. But yeah, I can get him, if I get him to fold 2 overcards to my pocket threes, that is a big result. And if he calls with a weaker hand, that's also fine. So that's why pocket threes was a good bet there. But unfortunately, then he donked for pot on the turn. So I think then he probably had top pair or better. AK Miracle Man. Ace queen off. So now not the same is true because I believe Saul Yokas is not necessarily a recreational player, or a non-crusher as we successfully called this type of player for quite a while on this channel. Okay, Big Daddy raises, we re-raise, and here we are also going to raise pocket sevens. And Big Daddy time folds, and everyone also folds on this other table. Well, we've made our money mostly with folding today. I don't think we have actually hit the board really hard. So we did win a little bit at showdowns, but nothing big. Like one time I think, yeah, we had an ace when there were 2 aces and 2 fours on the board. So yeah, technically that is a big hand. A full house didn't get paid at all in that one though. Some rag battling here. Definitely gonna fold 4 deuce off. King Jack suited, nice hand. And 10-8 goes into the mug after a raise and a 3-bet. Okay, this guy calls. It's not the best flop for me. However, I will still range bet it. I have 2 overs and a gut shot, and we get the fold, so that's just great. That's all we wanted. King 4 off. On the button. I am going to raise this one, as silly as it sounds, but the reason being is that we have this recreational player in the small blind. I want to play pots against him, and yes, there is someone better in the big blind, but still he is on the tighter side, and as we saw, we just took it down anyway. And now I am going to cold call the pocket threes here. This again, I want to play pots against a player on the button, so I am not going to do my usual 3-bet or fold in this spot. And he obliges. I just hope that the other two players don't squeeze now. They are incentivized to do it, but they also need a bit of a hand for that, and they don't. Okay, that's great. Sadly, this is not, once again, not the flop that we would have hoped for. Well, I have to check as monkey in the middle, and we'll see what develops now. If he bets, he calls, then I'm definitely out. He bets quite big, and he folds, but when he bets so big, I'm not gonna call. Like, for a small bet, I would have called. For this big bet, I think no. Even though I don't know, he might be the type of player who bets big when he doesn't have it, but still. Here in the hijack, normally king 10 off is a little bit too loose of an open, but I will open it because, again, I have this player here behind me that I want to play pots with, and secondly, and even more importantly, because of the big, or the ante. But we're getting 3-bet, king 10 off is not a hand we want to continue with. Queen 10 off now is getting way too loose in the low jack. And here I am gonna start with a limp with the ace 6 suited. And now we have top pair. I am going to go for the bet because if he has an like say king 7 or so, definitely want to call. Top pair, top kicker, nothing else to do than to call. 5, not amazing. But we still have top pair, top kicker. Small blind versus big blind. Now obviously we lose to a 4, we lose to 6-3, 6 deuce, to a lot of hands there. And what I'm gonna do now is I am going to I am going to bet this one small because I think if he has a 6, if it's queen 6, jack 6, any of that he could call. Okay, he goes really big here, saying that he has a flush. Here on the left, we definitely have to fold. It's calling 70, and they're getting 2-1, and it's basically 2-1 that he is bluffing because he wouldn't do this with anything else than a flush. Okay, I'm just gonna give it to him now. That's okay. I think it is fairly close, giving us 2-1, but still, it's not like amazing. Right, 9-6. This time I'm gonna call 9-6 suited. This is a gut shot. He checks, so I am going to go for a small stab. Players typically don't protect their checking ranges. Gonna go for the check now. And now that the flush comes in, now I can just bet again. I'm gonna go 8 big blinds. I think an ace will still call, but a lot of other hands won't, so that does the job. Okay. Queen 8 suited. Mates loose in the hijack, but I'm just gonna do it. Earl Grey seems to be playing on the phone. That's good that he folded. Good that everyone folded. 7 deuce off. I will fold. Again, what is this thing here now? Why? I just don't get it. I'm gonna fold, but why did the ant is not go in the middle, and what is going on with this? Like there is no small blind? Yeah, weird. I don't get it. And it's not a splash board or anything either. Anyway, let's hope for 1 or 2 more good big hands, nice, interesting pots before we wrap it up for today. Okay, king 9. Can definitely open this one in the hijack. Nitty tables now. Okay, on this one we're out. And on the run on the right, still have a little bit to go. So full concentration on 3 deuce offsuit. Okay, we don't have a lot to go because 2 players are missing, 1 sitting out. So it's only 1 more hand. Come on, Calvis. Okay. Last hand of the day is Jack 7 off. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasurable session. Hope to see you next time. Thank you. Bye.